Welcome to Club E. Hi, I'm Rick Brimacombe of Brimacombe and Associates. I am your architect of business growth, and I will work with you to unlock your potential and amplify the scale of your company. Today, we're talking about, in today's world, absolutes are no longer absolutes. I'd like to introduce and thank our sponsors. Irish Titan is e-commerce and web development firm. Highland Bank is a locally owned community bank. Romaine Berg, a digital marketing agency. Schwegman, Lumberg, Woosner, an intellectual property law firm, and Voyager U, a gateway for building your own independent work life. All right, reminder to hit the subscribe button so that we can notify you when we are going live. And also, as a reminder, you can catch Club E on your favorite podcast platform. With that, I'd like to introduce today's guest. Welcome, Chef Marshall O'Brien of the Chef Marshall O'Brien Group. And for those of you who would like to reach out to Chef Marshall, you can find his contact information in the comments field, or his email address is chefmarshall@chefmarshallobrien.com. Welcome.
Thank you. What an honor to be with you today.
Well, it's fabulous to have you here. I know that pre-COVID, we had you speak a couple of times at Club E, where we had the whole audience. Today, we're shooting it in your fabulous studio. First of all, tell us a little bit about your studio.
Well, I feel really honored. I got to do shout outs if I may. Modern kitchen, modern cabinets in the design. We've got Ferguson kitchen bath lighting, and then granitetops.com. I say that because this place would not have happened without their generosity, and the whole point of our studio is to be able to bring messages like this and the messages that we do for our clients and their businesses, and do it in a fun, engaging way. And you need to have a kitchen studio to do that.
Yes, you do. Now, normally you're cooking something. Today we're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what normally happens here.
Sure. So our whole focus is we help businesses and employees improve their safety performance. We help improve employee retention and wellness, aka quality of life. So what that looks like is we like to lead with cooking and food, because everybody needs to eat. But people also are starting to figure out that nourishing is different than eating. And you can eat foods that'll get you through the day, but you can also eat foods that'll get you through the day with energy to spare. And I always like to say that I would like people to go home to give the best of themselves to their family, not what's left of themselves to their family. So we use food and cooking as a way to help bring in that nutritional health message. The reality is nutrition is kind of boring, and when you think of wellness, it's like the number one most vilified word in the English language. And so how do you make it fun, engaging, and at the end of the day, how do you make it relevant from a business standpoint? Because if it doesn't help you make money or save money, you're not going to do it. And wellness is a tough cookie. So we, again, focus on, with the right foods, you can be safer on the job. With the right foods, you can perform better, have better mental clarity, more energy, things like that, improve quality of life. And obviously, when you are doing those things, you're going to have a higher mood. You're going to feel more valued as an employee, which can help with employee retention. But that's kind of in a nutshell. So we do webinars, we do videos, we do recorded presentations, live streaming presentations. We have a weekly live streaming interactive cooking show that we do to help bring people together in real time, where they cook with us. And what's unique about it is not only is it a fun, positive experience, and you can work on your cooking skills with me, but you also get to learn the health benefits of certain foods. And again, it's all leading with cooking. And then that way you break down the barriers, make it fun, make it delicious. And oh, by the way, these foods can help reduce stress, they can help boost your immune system, they can improve mental clarity and things like that. And we do pretty much all that. We were a live company for 8+ years. I've been on this journey for over 20 years. And in the last 8 years, it's evolved tremendously. And my business partner, who's just a mastermind at strategy, has helped us really evolve it to be making the impacts that we're making now.
Mm-hmm. So I saw some pictures over on the bulletin board over off to my right, and there's some family pictures, kids. And you said something that caught my attention about going home and having energy for your family and not giving them what's left over, but giving them the best of you. Tell the audience a little bit about your family life.
Sure. Yeah, you're going to make me cry, but that's cool. So I married 16 years in a couple, next week. I got to remember that anniversary.
Better.
Yeah. Anyways, married. My wife is from Istanbul, Turkey, so I always say that I married a Turkish queen, and she's awesome. She's just she's phenomenal. She's kind of like the person behind the curtain, you know, like orchestrating everything. And we got 2 daughters, 9 and 6, Isla and Azra. And I always like to say it's Marshall and the Estrogens playing tonight at 7. You got the joke. Thank you. I appreciate that. Some people do, some people don't. But, you know, all jokes aside, you know, we really, as a family, I really pride myself and with my kids with my wife and kids in, you know, communicating, building meaningful relationships, you know, and that whole meaningful relationship thing is emotional, it's spiritual, it's physical, it's intellectual, and so, you know, being able to have conversations with people, and I'm going off on a tangent, I apologize.
That's what we're here for, to pick up on those tangents.
Yeah, well, and I, you know, just with, like, with my work, you know, we teach people how nourishing is different than eating, but that goes beyond the workplace. And a lot of people don't connect it, oh, I should be eating a certain way at work, I might just think about it at home, and vice versa. And if you have your family supporting what you're doing, and they, you know, if you have a food philosophy, for example, and you believe that the right foods are going to help you, again, get through the day with energy to spare and all that kind of stuff, and you're demonstrating that with your kids, they're going to, odds are they're going to greatly improve those vital habits well into adulthood. And so, you know, we make our money through businesses and working with business clients, but I'm always reaching the individuals, and I'm always trying to connect with the families, and I'm always trying to demonstrate. Like my 6-year-old daughter was just started the last 2 episodes running the cameras and being a part of the experience, and they're always hearing this stuff, and I'm not militant about it. And when we're working with clients, we're not militant. You know, we're going to dance with wherever people are at, and that's a distinction that we have, because I feel in today's world, especially with, you know, COVID's really exposed the health vulnerabilities that we have. You know, you can obviously, like, there's external things you can do to protect yourself, but there's a lot of internal things that a lot of people aren't doing. And so we have a very non-judgmental approach, and personally, professionally, and it's always like anything that you can do today that you were not doing yesterday that's positive is progress. So I really focus on those baby step things that you can do in your life, and, you know, with my kids, with myself, with our clients, and that's really important.
Yeah, so baby steps, a key word. So let's say I'm a business, liked what I just heard. How do I get started? Seems kind of intimidating. So is there some baby steps or a logical place for businesses to start interacting with you and your company?
Yeah, that's a great question, because wellness is a multi-billion-dollar snaggle of stuff. And a lot of times it's like, oh, we just got to check a box. And if you think about the role wellness plays in people's lives, well, I already mentioned safety. You mentioned performance, and performance could be like just how efficient are you in communicating to ultimately close deals, or how efficient are you at operating machinery or whatever, so that could be performance. Then employee retention is if you have a culture that embraces quality of life and embraces inclusive relationships, and really, like, you know, not just the talking points of collaboration and all those corporate words, but really embracing it, that fosters employee retention. And then again, the quality of life, the wellness side. You know, are you practicing what you're preaching, or you want people to be healthy, but your vending machines are chock full of stuff? And obviously, in the pandemic world, post-pandemic world, people are working some on site, some at home, and it's going to be very different moving forward. Now, to answer your question, I preface what I said because it's very daunting. But if people can frame up if they can frame up wellness on how will this help me keep employees, how will it help me improve performance? This is the benefits to the company, right? Yep. You know, how will it help my employees be safer? You're a truck driving company, if you're, you know, whatever the case may be. So frame it in those types of those perspectives. But then this is where absolutes are no longer absolutes. In the past, we siloed those things. So, like, as a company, we have a safety program for public works, for fire, for police, and then we have a wellness program. And then we have a performance program. Well, you now have to start working on those. So as a company that's listening and saying, well, this is interesting, but wow, there's a lot of information, don't know where to start, don't have a lot of money, et cetera, you need to connect. If if I have folks that are operating heavy machinery, if I have folks that are coding, I have people in sales, those are equated to dollars. Because if you're screwing up on the coding, your applications aren't going to work out right. You're going to have upset customers, and then your customer service staff, which might be you or your 5 other people, depending on the size of your business. How are you dealing with that? Then you tie in the, okay, if we have a company food philosophy that supports performance, that supports safety. Does that all make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's a start there, and at the end of the day, Rick, everybody's different. We used to kind of clump it, like, okay, we got 45 different webinars we can do for you. We've got, these 5 different types of programs, but ultimately what works for a startup is very different than works for City Minneapolis or for Hennepin County or Medtronic or whomever, big, small. Sorry, I'm name dropping there, but the point is, it really comes down to what are the needs, what are their pain points, what's it costing them not to be doing these things, and then if we can be providing this type of experience, we pandemic was I don't feel weird saying this, but it was a blessing because I'd been wanting to go digital for 5 years.
Yeah, us too at Club E.
Yeah, I wanted to go. I mean, and we historically it was always like I go to a site, do the presentation, or we go and do the audit, and then we're doing all this stuff on site, and that works. And I like being with you because I can read your face. We can, create. When we were talking, Lucas and I were talking about that, before the program today. However, from a scalability standpoint, from really making change and impact, going digital was a huge gift. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay, because I'm going to jump in with a question. So I have long held that entrepreneurship starts in the family with role models. I'm guessing that cooking and a love of food does as well. I think of myself. I remember my grandfather working the grill up at their cabin in northern Minnesota, spending time in the kitchen with my mom and grandmother. My dad working the grill at our family cabin in Wisconsin, at least till he gave me the tongs.
Yeah, the tongs of authority.
Yeah, I said, here, you do it.
Awesome.
Did you start with your family, your love affair of food, or talk a little bit about kind of how you got onto that journey?
Sure. I'm a creative guy and I'm a relationship guy. When you are creative and you're in relationships, food is a natural intersection because everybody has to eat, and you can have, you can make something and someone is just like, this was great, and it leads to a really positive conversation or a wonderful feeling, that sort of thing. And I like that. At the same time, I also have been really curious about the role food plays in our health, and I can go into all that stuff, but what I think is more interesting is when you enjoy cooking, you are ultimately able to empower yourself to make the changes you want in your kitchen and in your life. And that's what we're trying to do, is just help empower people take control of their life so that they can lead the best life possible. My mom was a fabulous cook, and she always cooked, and she helped me be curious about food. Kids taste, so we've done a lot of work with, over the past 8 years, whether right now we're focusing all on businesses, but for about 5 years we worked a lot in childcare and in schools, and we still support childcare out in Utah and Nebraska. But I'm bringing this up because kids' taste buds, especially from at age 1 to 5, almost half of their taste preferences become hardwired. So as you are exploring food and the sensations and the aromas and the taste, well, you're constantly going, is this going to kill me or keep me alive as a child? So my mom had that, I'm so happy, kudos to her for having the foresight. She exposed me to all sorts of stuff like escargot, caviar. And she didn't do it because she was wealthy. She lived in the attic in an apartment in Uptown. But she knew taking these steps to show me these different things and try these different things and give me the freedom to do that, helped me be curious, and that has nothing to do with health. That's just curiosity, because once you know you're safe from that, then you're going to try more stuff. So my mom exposed me to a lot, and I just had this knack for connecting with people, and food was a way to do that. And it wasn't until 2001 when I said, oh, there's really an opportunity here to help people. But I didn't know what I was doing until about 2011 when I realized that you can't, if I'm just going to people's homes teaching them how to cook great tasting and nourishing foods to each individual home, that's like scooping Lake Superior out with a Dick's Cup, done work. And married at that point, wanting to have kids. It's like, got to figure something else out.
So I have now taken kind of your approach in terms of this being the heart of the family of 4 kids up at the lake place, a lot of guests, so the meals are definitely a way to bond.
Absolutely.
All right, so shifting from your love to the business side of things, so your college degree was in psychology and communications. Obviously, a long way from being in the kitchen doing this kind of stuff. So how'd you make the leap to the business side of food?
That's an awesome question. I actually want to just make a comment about the psychology and communication, because everybody has a story with food. And when we do presentations and we're talking like foods to reduce stress or foods to improve your immune system or foods for body pain, people will say, oh, that's really cool that foods have a health benefit. They either work for you or they work against you. And the reason why I wanted to point this out is because everyone has a story, and you might have had something happen to you as a kid where you got forced to eat something, you didn't like it, and that had a profound impact, and you may not realize it. It guided you into adulthood on how you make certain food decisions. So the psychology and communication is very relevant, which I didn't even make that connection back then. I see it now. So making that transition, I really wanted to help people. I've always been interested in people. Like if I had it my way, I would be asking you the questions and you'd be talking. But obviously, yeah, we could do that too. But I get, that's not the point of your show. I get that. But so I'm really interested in people, and I'm really interested in helping people figure out how they can make the most out of their life with where they're at. I am a very little dude. I'm not going to be an NBA player. I'm not going to be a football player, but I might be a really good speaker, and that really is one of my gifts. I'm good at cooking. I'm good at teaching cooking. So anyways, I'm saying this because I wanted to help people live their best life, and the way I can do it, the best way I know, is through cooking and through nutrition. Now, I have a team of folks, chefs, dietitians, researchers, writers, videographers, publishers, editors, that will help me give a message in a non-threatening, non-dogmatic way. And as my business partner, he's almost twice my age. He's the behind the scenes guy, he's an operations guy, and he saw with his gifts and my gifts and with the needs out there, because over 70% of the deaths today in the US are from chronic diseases, and almost 90% of those are based off of our lifestyle choices, specifically what we eat. So there's a huge opportunity to help people. But food's social, it's familial, it's cultural, it's political, it's economical, it's environmental. And if you're telling me how to eat, and and you might care and you want me to change to help me, or whatever the agenda, whatever your objective is, but if you're coming about it from a militant way, well, that doesn't work. It sells TV ratings, and we've seen a lot of shows like that in the past. So anyways, we saw a huge opportunity, and it first started in the school systems because they had an okay nutrition program. And then when the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, came out with the Hunger Healthy Free Kids Act, they upped their nutrition game. They needed help with recipe development, with training. And so we started collaborating in that capacity. And I was doing B2B corporate wellness stuff before teaming up with my business partner. And then we just said, hey man, this is becoming more and more and more of an issue. And I'm obviously giving you a real condensed version here. But that's how we made that transition, and figuring out how to scale it and make it sustainable has been a constant evolution.
Okay, so as a father of 4, and my kids now are in their 20s, so it's
Yeah.
not relevant today, but
That's
thinking
okay.
back over time, and this is not a business question.
No,
You have a kid who says, no, I don't want to eat the green veggies. What do you do?
Okay. I love this question because yes, I do nutritional health presentations for companies, for their employees, but at the end of the day, I'm interacting with the employees, and this question comes up all the time. Here's the reality. 9 out of 10 times, I as the parent am the problem and not my child. And what I mean by that is it's a power game. Children are very, very, very smart, so they know Dad wants me to eat this. There's a power dynamic there that I might not know as a kid, but if I say no, all of a sudden Dad's going to change his behavior and approach. Maybe I'll get something different. So the challenge with that, what happens is parents are overstressed, overwhelmed, sleep deprived. They're trying to live life to the fullest they can, and they're just way over leveraged. So they have their agenda, and I'm speaking out of my own experience too. I want it to go a certain way. Well, my kids are like, I'm going to do it my way. So if you can adapt by giving them choices, and the most critical, most important thing that you can be doing is role modeling. Just role modeling, eating great tasting, nourishing foods that work for you. And it's okay to have special treats, and I make, every other week we make burgers. I make them. Okay, every other week we make pizza. I literally make it. The point is, I give them those options so they feel that they're a part of the process. They even help me with the meal planning. My 9-year-old was always complaining about not liking what we were having, and she loves food like me. And I said, why don't you help me meal plan? Then you won't complain. And it worked. So it's giving them power in choices. It's recognizing the nuance with the power dynamic, and that's a huge thing, and a lot of parents miss that.
Well, with the 4 kids, I learned just what you said, variety, put a lot of stuff out there. So I went for volume, multiple choices, and then let them have that.
Yeah, and leftovers are okay. I am constantly evolving how I parent, especially when it comes to food. I can go on and on about this, but you gotta let the kids feel like they are making those decisions. Yeah. And I used to be pretty restrictive about stuff, but here's the thing. When I was a kid, my parents were hardcore restrictive about stuff. Guess what I did? I went to my friend's house.
And drank 10 cans of Coke.
Exactly, 7. And so I get that you gotta dance with it, and it's not easy, and you want the best for your kids, and giving choices is important. But they also know, like, they hear me talk about this. They see me on TV, they see it through the cooking show, they see it when I'm interacting with folks, that, they are gonna eat certain stuff that'll help them with their focus, help them with their energy, help them with their mental clarity, help them with their moods. And there's this stuff that's going to just kick their butt, and it's not worth it. Yeah. And that's my...
So, let it go.
Yes.
So, pandemic hits a little over a year ago. You go digital with your business. We go digital with Club E. People at home are now working at home, living at home, doing, everything at home.
Yeah.
How did the pandemic impact their habits and behaviors?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Number one, and the title is the first point, is that the old absolutes are definitely not new absolutes, and people are still going through that. You got to adapt or you disappear. We already kind of talked about that. And then the third point is there are, and it sounds so dramatic, but I don't know how to say it. There are new threats in the work environment that can create more fractions, and I can talk about that later, that companies are struggling with. I just was reading an article out of one of the online media sources, The Conversation. It's an academic-driven, and maybe you've heard of it, but they were just talking about how companies are trying to create a new sense of normalcy and trying to re-engage their employees, and it's a big struggle. So those are the 3 things that it really has been a problem, and we saw that, with the whole absolute thing. We used to operate in silos. We used to do like the safety thing, the performance thing, the health thing, the retention thing, and you got to bring all those together. If you can save one accident, that, obviously that pays for itself. If you have, if your customer service folks are always, dealing with cranky people, but they're not taking care of themselves, odds are they're a liability to how they're representing the company and how they're solving the problems, and they're losing those customers. It's all that stuff is connected, and that was one of the big things that we learned, even more so. Conceptually people know that, sure, but now the world has changed.
Sure. What are the biggest absolutes in your world that you've seen change?
Well, definitely the silo thing. You got to break down the silos, and you have to figure out what are your pain points, and then how do you, so like health and wellness doesn't sell, but companies know that they're spending a tremendous amount of money on the health of their employees. So what do? Do you frame it up through a retention lens? Do you frame it up through a safety lens, or through a performance lens? Now, what matters to you or your employees, is very different than what matters to the company. So in the sense of like sick days, you don't say to the employees, we want to work on minimizing sick days. We want to help you feel better. Subtle nuance. So those absolutes, you have to frame those, otherwise you're going to continue to go down an ineffective path.
Right. So the old wellness model didn't really work. Why not? Was it a little bit of what you just said, or were there other aspects to it?
Well, a big part of it is because people are focusing on awareness versus behavior change. And that behavior change is a trendy thing. There's a lot of digital apps out there that are helping people. But ultimately, if you're going to create, if you're going to at least sustain your employee health, you have to focus on 4 things, and it's the whole behavior change models. Number 1 is you got to give a reason for people. 70% of decisions we make are based on emotions, and then we back it up with rational thought. So if you're just saying, we're doing this to be healthy, well, it doesn't, who cares? But if I'm focusing on, well, I want to play with my kids pain-free, I don't want to be a liability on the job, I mean, whoever, you give, very different reasons why you want to make those changes. So you have to be able to tap into that. Second point is you need to have a pathway to help you go from where you are to where you want to be. And a lot of people struggle with that. They might just be given tools, which is the third point. So you need the pathway, then you need the tools. And the tools are going to obviously use the tools to help you go along your journey, but you need to know how to use those tools, so you need training. Our focus being nutritional health and wellness. If I give you recipes, but you don't know how to cook, I'm wasting your time, and you're going to fail, because you need to be able to do all this stuff, and you need training to support those tools. And then the last point would be you need constant motivation, constant education, constant nudging, constant support. So those 4 pieces have to work together, and every group has different needs. And we have seen a lot of groups just focus on the awareness, like a quarterly lunch and learn, a yearly lunch and learn. I mean, that's great because you might get a new idea. But most people aren't able to take that idea and then put it into action. And that's why you need to have those 4 steps. So that's why the old wellness model doesn't work.
So businesses are going to do things that, in theory, are good for the employees, in theory, are good for shareholders or stakeholders, in theory is good for the business, bottom line being part of that. So how do we take this wellness model and look at the economic impact, yet maybe bridge the gap of you got to communicate it in an attractive, digestible, play on words way, but there's economic benefits. So talk a little bit about the economic benefits and how that fits into the scheme from a higher level perspective.
Okay, so from a higher level, the economic benefits from a higher level perspective, companies will not argue that they spend a tremendous amount in health care. CDC Foundation stated that on average, absentees they're paying about $280 some in absenteeism every year. That obviously adds up. Sick time, they know it's about $1,600 per employee per year. That adds up. I mean, if you're 10 people, it's still expensive. But I mean, you get the point. It adds up. And so how do the economic impact is going to be focusing on an inclusive environment. And when I say inclusive, that's a buzzword right now, but what I'm saying inclusive is like it's holistic inclusive. So we're focusing on how do your nutrition programs, how do your emotional health, physical health, nutritional health, however you want to label them, but at the end of the day, how are you taking a holistic approach into helping folks? And then how do you leverage that to keep people on board? Because it costs people a lot of money to train new people. So people, your audience today is going to be, they're going to maybe be motivated from an altruistic standpoint. They want to make money, but they might, you might have a leader that says, this is important to me, I want to do it, I get it, I've experienced it, whatever. But the employee retention piece, there's financial benefits to having a comprehensive, good quality program that focuses on people and it's practical, sustainable. But then on the performance side, if they can tie a financial benefit to the retention, the performance, and then again the safety, depending on the sector, it's a pretty easy equation to solve. Hope that answers your question.
Yep. I want to talk a little bit on the financial side of things from a company perspective. So million years ago, companies didn't provide any food beverage in the workforce. Then you went to, hey, we got a foosball table, hey, we got some beverages, now we have some snacks, now we have some food.
Yeah, and
So
all you can eat anytime you want. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. So now, let's say I'm a company, I come to you and say, this is what we've been doing, the typical things that you might suspect. And I said, all right, Marshall, I want you to come in here and work your magic and make what we're eating healthier, yet enticing, and help my employees be healthy and motivated and have extra energy at the end of the day. So what do you do to improve on the typical, and I'm not pointing a specific out a company, and just in general.
Okay, so if I understand your question is, how do you help a company use that food strategy to their benefit?
Correct, and they're writing a check. So there's an I'm food beverage.
Okay, so great example. One of our clients is a tech company in town, and pre-COVID, they had exactly what you said. They had 2 cafeterias, 2 levels of the building, 2 cafeterias, all you can eat or drink, and there's nothing wrong with having access to that. It's what is it? So they said, hey, we like your idea that the right foods can help our employees perform better. Again, they're saying a different message to the employees. Yeah. It's all about less stress or quality of life or whatever. But for the company, they got that. Okay, we want to start with a food philosophy. So what does food mean? Is it a recruitment tool? That's kind of, there's perks, the foosball, the food, the remote work, whatever. I mean, there's all these perks, but I think that's low on the priorities. So what is their food philosophy? Food is a way to help nourish your employees so that they can improve energy, mental clarity, less stress, whatever. So you state a food philosophy. Well, the leadership has to buy into it and actually believe it and practice it. So the food philosophy is in place. Now, these are suggestions, they're not mandates, because ultimately people are going to do what they're going to do, but at least you set a vision forth. Then you put together, educational sessions, and you give this pathway, as I said. So with your guiding star of the philosophy, providing educational content, and then giving actionable items people can do to start doing it. Now, specifically with the food in these cafeterias, with the example that I brought up, we did an audit on the food. So we did basically red, yellow, green good, yellow have occasionally, red not a good choice. Most of the food in there scored red, and to translate it from a performance standpoint, a lot of these foods, high refined carbohydrates, meaning high sugar. Exactly. And why would that matter if I'm working is I got energy, then I don't have energy, and now I'm starting to make my mental cognition is off, my energy is off, now I start making mistakes, I start second guessing myself, I start making shortcuts. It can be a spiral effect. And so they realized, they went, whoa, the food choices we're giving are actually working against our employees. So then you got to come up, again, they're paying for this stuff. You got to take it in a progression, and you really need to have a FUBU approach. What that is, a for you, by you approach. If management's
say it one more time.
A FUBU approach, for you, by you. Okay, and I'm pointing this out because when you make changes in the culture, if management makes the changes, are people going to follow it?
Not as much.
No, but if you and I are coworkers and we're asked, hey, we're trying to improve the environment so that people can feel better and they can, have more energy and, enjoy their day better, I think they're talking to us, like what would matter to us, right? And then we give our input. Now there's bumpers, but we give the input. We help create the strategy. I mean, in truth, you've got us or whomever that's creating the strategy, but then the employees feel that they're a part of it. And then they start moving it down in a positive direction, making subtle changes with the food. You start providing more, not just the philosophy is important. I already stated that, but then having practical components, and it's not just food, it's not just fitness, it's not just emotional health. They all work together, but oftentimes food is forgotten because it's such a complicated connection people have with it, and it doesn't have to be. So you make the progression of changes. Am I going in the? I mean, is this all making sense?
Yeah. Well, or the bottom line, can I have my sugary caffeinated cola, or is that out?
Well, again, it's not about. To me, it's not this or that. It's you can have these and understand. Just understand when you do this, if you need to be putting a lot of brain power into a project, that might not be helping you. It might actually work against you. And messaging is paramount.
I don't drink that, by the way. I was just using that as an
It's okay.
example. All right,
I was
so-
secretly judging you, but now I'm
Okay,
not.
no,
Okay.
I don't drink that. Now, a lot of water, healthy.
I do drink
All
a
right,
lot of water.
So what about
The messaging is
What
critical.
about the snacks? So we're getting rid of sugary cookies, chips. So what are we replacing? What are we replacing everything with?
It's a combination. Like you might have, you mentioned the blood sugar crash. That is significant. So if I'm a company and I want my employees to perform better so that we can ultimately service our clients, ultimately make more money, make better, keeping their blood sugar stable is going to help their energy, their moods, their mental clarity. Absolutely critical. If it's a factory, if it's manufacturing, helping them be safer on the job, the blood sugar helps them with mental cognition and energy and stress and that sort of thing. So understanding what are you trying to achieve from that standpoint. Then you are finding foods that help keep your blood sugar stable. So a whole grain cookie is better than just a mass-produced, refined grain, high-sugar cookie. So you find cookies that have nuts, and having chocolate chips is fine, or M&Ms is fine, but having it with some kind of nutrition in there, because I do not believe I don't believe in taking things away. I believe in adding and helping people understand the benefits, and then they're going to make their decisions. But it all starts from the top. If the company says this is important to us, you gotta, and then you have to set those examples. So you're gonna have just good quality, better, healthier for you snacks, things that are accessible, fruits and vegetables. Survey the employees. What would you like to have? And frame it up. Don't frame it like, hey, we're trying to do some healthy initiatives.
Because Chef Marshall.
Because this, or whatever. Because Nancy and HR heard about it, and it's really cool. We're going to do this. You want to tee it up with what matters to them.
Yeah.
What matters to you is very different from me and very different from Lucas. So how do you make that emotional connection and then have them help you make those decisions? And it's really, again, if you're trying to create permanent change, you got to have the 4 components in there, and you have to really focus on driving it as best you can with the employees feeling that they're moving forward with it.
All right. So one of the things you brought up when we were talking about the pandemic earlier was about threats to the food system and just overall kind of survival threats. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So when I say threats, these threats that are coming up now, we've been in over a year with a radically different work culture, and I think that's fair to say that. And people are trying to now figure out, okay, do we bring people back? Do we do a hybrid model? What happens? And what's significant about this is when people were all together, you had a connected community. And you could debate, well, I don't like my job, so I don't think of that as a community. But at the end of the day, you're giving your time and expertise into this organization, and there's this real community. Well, the pandemic fractured that community, and people are isolated. And even if they're going to the office, they're not doing it the way they used to. They're not communicating. They're not collaborating. They're not sharing. They're not connecting. And so that threat of isolation, that threat of the fracture, is going to continue to. You're now hearing in the media about employees saying, well, if I can't do it my way, I'm going to leave. Or you're hearing on the other side, employers saying, well, if you don't come into the office, go get a new job. Now, who's right, who's wrong? That's not the point. That fracture is a significant threat to the vitality and health of a company. So that was a big thing that we learned through the pandemic, and people are going, what do we do? You got to build community. How do you help? It could be, 4 months before the pandemic hit, one of our big clients was like, this, and they're not Nostradamus, but they figured this, I don't know. It was beautiful, because they're like, we really want to work on building community. So we started doing presentations where everybody got together, we had a topic, we talked for a few minutes, and then we let it open for 3/4 of the presentation for people to talk and ask questions. That's one of many examples to build community. But people trust, connection, all that kind of stuff. So that community building piece is absolutely critical in today's environment. And I read another article today just about how companies the trust an employee has with management based on the communication, the message is really fragmented right now. So you have to help build community, and we're really good at doing that.
Community, food, obviously there's threads through all this stuff here that you've been talking about today.
Yeah.
As you look back over your career, was there a lesson that you learned that you wish you would have learned sooner? Maybe save you a little bit of time, trouble, headache along the way.
Yeah. I don't think this is I feel people say this a lot, but it's my truth. I wish I would have had better focus. And I have, in the last couple of years, learned how to better focus. Now, the reality is where we are at today as a company and the service that we're bringing, people weren't ready for 10 years ago, or when we first started with Bob, my business partner. But if we focus, because I get in my own way a lot too, and I don't want to, I tend to get kind of philosophical, but I think getting out of your own way is really important. And if you really believe enough in something, like I just fervently believe that we are changing the world to be a better place, and I know that we bring a tremendous amount of value, and now people are knocking on our doors, whereas before it was all about having to establish credibility, had to explain this and that and the other thing, and now it's like people know it. But I had to get out of my own way with that piece, and I had to stay focused, and those were hard for me to do, and I think I'm getting better now at that.
Okay. And then in terms of our talk today, if there was one thing you'd like to leave with the audience or make sure that they took from our talk today, what would that be?
The stuff that we have talked about, it might sound intimidating, but if you're a leader and you're saying, I really want to improve the environment in my workplace, and whether it's fragmented and how do we start creating more community again, if it's just showing my employees that we really care about them and trying to retain them and make this an attractive environment to be in from a health space, taking a step, just take a step, do something. And I said this before and you caught it, it's all about baby steps. So figure out how can you make yourself attractive right now, because people are jumping ship, people are cautious, they're concerned, and when you demonstrate that we really value folks and you say it in a real humanistic standpoint and you tie it to their health and recognizing that and sharing with them, hey, we want you involved and we want to help you, enjoy your job more. We want to help you be safer on the job, and say what the benefits are to the employees. That would be my takeaway. For today.
Okay. And then if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to learn more, to figure out how you might be able to help their company, how do they find you? How do they reach you?
Yeah, go to chefmarshallobrien.com. We're on the social media channels as well. Different channels serve different purposes, but I would just say go right to our website, chefmarshallobrien.com.
And for the business leader that's thinking about this maybe change or transition or evolution for their company, baby step is a great first idea, but other than the baby step, what maybe is a tangible thing that they could say, I'm going to start with this? What would that be?
Start with a food philosophy, and start by making a commitment that they want to making a commitment that they're going to use it, if they have a campus that's open. I know a lot of people are changing their campuses, but if they have a campus, or saying we're going to commit to helping our employees lead better quality lives through this lens, knock the silos down, bring them together, and start giving them strategies that they can incorporate at home if they're working at home. So that would be my first step.
All right. Remind everybody again how they find you.
chefmarshallobrien.com.
chefmarshallobrien.com. Thank you very much.
Thank
you for doing it here. Thank you for hosting us. Little field trip for us is kind of fun for Clubby to get out of our normal routine. So thanks for having us. And
Absolutely.
then when we start doing events again, I assume you'd be willing to come and do another panel with us.
I would be happy to. And now that I know that you enjoy cooking and food, maybe we do an experience where we cook together through a conversation.
Actually, we could do that.
That would be really fun.
And I am now the keeper of the flame in the family as far as being the cook.
Nice.
So I'm the main cook for the 4 kids here in town, and then up at the lake, your typical weekend is 20, 25 people. In some ways,
I can
do 20, 25 versus 5.
That's awesome.
All right, thank you very much.
It was a real pleasure.
Look forward to seeing you again.
Likewise.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Thank you.